The short answer, I would say, would be the mind, or what has been called the ego, because the ego has something to protect, right? Like, the focus of the ego is me, my, I, like, myself, right? Like itself. So when it is trying to, when its the world of the ego is revolving around itself, then, it's trying to make a point, it's trying to be seen, it's trying to be heard a certain way, it's trying to, a lot of times already, it's trying to get the things that it already has or is, but, it doesn't have that, let's say, awareness or consciousness. So, the mind, ironically, is seeking or trying to seek out more love, more connection, more authenticity, more freedom. It wants all of the things that perhaps it's not aware that it not only has, but it already is, right? Like, and obviously these aspects is beyond, the aspects of the self is beyond the mind. So freedom, love, expression, of our true self, it's all just that, it's just who we are. It's just how we are. It's the true nature of who we are. Freedom, love, joy, peace, abundance. It is just the truth of who we are. So, if we are a drop of the universe, and the universe is abundance in all forms, not just money, but, time, energy, love, joy, like in all forms, and we are a drop of the universe, then we are abundant in all the things that, that the universe is. Therefore, we don't have to seek. But the nature of the mind or the ego is that it lives in this illusion of disconnect. So it has a belief unconsciously that it is disconnected from the energy of all that is, let's say, the universe. So therefore it is, it sets out seeking the thing that it already has, and it already, is the true nature of what it already is, because of the illusion of disconnect, if that makes sense. Because it feels it is separate from, it is trying to become something, or, have more of the thing that it's seeking. It is, it already is. And that is perhaps the cosmic conundrum, or maybe even joke, of being a human, is that, we have this amazing supercomputer that has the ability to think and solve problems. But when we become identified with the problem-solving machine, it feels like a big problem, and we're not aware what the problem is, but just that there seems to be a problem, and, the problem-solving machine can only do one thing, which is it starts to seek out the answers. It starts to want to solve a problem, and the problem never existed. So it doesn't know its own state of lack of awareness, or lack of consciousness, let's say. So I'm speaking a lot in very woo-woo terms. So let me ground it to more, let's say, tangible levels. What is it within us that feels the need to hide, perform, and protect itself? You could say it's the mind. Because let's say on the mind level, some part of us doesn't know that it is connected, or doesn't have the awareness that we're connected to all that is, and we're abundant in all ways. So then it's trying to generate that. In this case, it's the freedom, the love, the expression. So it is seeking that. And you could say on a mind level, somewhere in the past, if we look at it from a story perspective, and we can look at it almost from any perspective, and we'll be able to come back to the same answer, I would say. Somewhere in the past, somewhere in our timeline, something was said or not said enough of, done or not done enough of. I am or I am not, right? Like, so I'm good enough or I'm not good enough. I'm worthy, or normally it's I'm not worthy. So therefore, that is the illusion, like that is the disconnect. So therefore the mind, sets out on this journey of trying to solve that, because it seems like that's the problem, and it's a big problem, right? So it's like a existential problem. So it sets out on this path of journey of wanting to solve this thing, which started as a thought in the mind, which then, when we focus on it enough, became a belief, and that belief we focus on enough that it became feels true. So we end up solving a problem that doesn't exist. So I'll go back to the question and make sure I've answered it. The question is, if the true nature of self is freedom, love, and expression, what is it that still feels a need to hide, perform, and protect itself even when it knows it is safe? So knowing that it is safe, knowing on a knowledge level, on a thought level, is not enough, because we have, our body, and the body remembers. We have, on an emotional level, we are energetic beings having this physical experience. So just the head convincing, other parts of us that no, it's okay, it's safe. I have the knowledge, I have the information that says we're safe. A lot of times is not enough, because some part of us is still reliving that past where maybe there was a time when you were not safe. Maybe you had to perform, maybe you had to hide, maybe you had to do whatever to protect yourself. And we tend to then keep showing up in that as a default. So therefore, it's not even a consideration, that it's possible for you to live in freedom, in love, in just, your own expression of yourself, like the truth of who you are. Because we are stuck, our world is trying to solve this thing that seems like a problem, which, in the case of what you're talking about here, it's like trying to keep ourselves safe, on some level. And it's an illusion, because we are already safe just by virtue of being here, right? Like of our existence. It is the true nature of who and how we are. But if you are safe and trying to be safe, then you will keep chasing your own tail and keep finding situations where you're not safe, like even expressing yourself might not feel safe. So I hope that it's a bit more tangible and